The little girl was just sketching on the mansion steps when two guards walked past speaking a language they thought no one understood. But her mother had taught her Russian before she died. What she overheard wasn't guard talk, it was an assassination plan. And the Mafia boss they wanted dead was the one person who could protect her now. Lena pressed her charcoal pencil harder against the paper, trying to capture the way shadows fell across the mansion's stone steps. 8 years old, and she'd already filled 17 notebooks with drawings, birds, flowers, the iron gate, anything that stayed still long enough. The afternoon sun warmed her back as she sat on the wide marble stairs leading to Dante Moretti's estate. Her grandmother worked inside as the head housekeeper, which meant Lena spent every afternoon here after school, sketching while she waited for the workday to end. She liked it here. The guards always nodded at her. The garden smelled like rosemary. Nobody asked questions about why her mother wasn't around anymore. Two men walked past her, their boots crunching on the gravel driveway.
Завтра на доках. Засада готова.
Lena's hand stopped mid-stroke. Tomorrow at the docks. The ambush is ready. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory, soft, patient, teaching her Russian words while they baked bread together. Mama had wanted Lena to remember where she came from, even though they'd left Moscow when Lena was only 4. The guards kept walking, their voices dropping lower.
Никто не выживет.
Signal будет в полдень. No one will survive. The signal will be at noon. Lena's stomach twisted. She knew exactly 4 words of Italian, could barely manage English homework, but Russian she understood perfectly. One of the guards glanced back. His eyes locked onto hers. She dropped her gaze immediately, forcing her hand to keep sketching. Her fingers trembled as she drew a crooked flower stem, then another. Don't look up. Just keep drawing. The guard's boots stopped moving.
Девочка нас слышала.
Did the girl hear us?
Она просто ребенок.
Ничего не понимает, she's just a child. She understands nothing. Footsteps approached. Heavy, deliberate. Lena kept her head down, adding petals to her flower with exaggerated concentration. Her heart hammered so loud, she was certain he could hear it. A shadow fell across her notebook. Pretty picture, the guard said in accented English. His voice was friendly, but something cold lived underneath it. Thank you, Lena whispered. You draw here every day. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak more. You speak Russian? The question hung in the air like a blade. Lena looked up, forcing confusion onto her face. What? The guard studied her for a long moment. His partner called something from near the gate, and finally, he stepped back. Nothing. Enjoy your drawing. She waited until their footsteps faded before she dared breathe properly. Her grandmother always said Mr. Moretti was a dangerous man. Lena had seen important-looking people come and go, heard whispers about the family business, watched guards patrol with guns barely concealed under their jackets. But Grandma also said Mr. Moretti was fair. He paid well, treated his staff with respect, and when Grandma's arthritis got bad last winter, he'd sent his personal doctor without being asked. Those men weren't talking about flowers. Tomorrow at the docks. An ambush.
No survivors.
Lena closed her notebook with shaking hands. She shouldn't get involved. She was 8 years old. What did she know about guard conversations, or dock meetings, or ambushes? But Mama's face appeared in her mind, smiling, braiding Lena's hair, teaching her the Russian alphabet on the back of old envelopes. Когда ты знаешь правду, молчание делает тебя соучастником, Mama used to say. When you know the truth, silence makes you an accomplice. Lena gathered her things slowly, mind racing. Maybe she'd misunderstood. Maybe docks meant something else in guard speak. Maybe. Moretti даже не знает, что его убил. Moretti won't even know what killed him. The voice drifted from the guard station near the East Wing. One of those same men, laughing with someone over radio. Lena's decision crystallized. She tucked her notebook under her arm and walked toward the main entrance, trying to look casual. The older guards knew her, barely glanced her way as she slipped inside. The mansion's interior always felt too big. High ceilings, marble floors that echoed, paintings of stern-faced men watching from gilded frames. Lena kept to the edges, moving through hallways she'd memorized over months of afternoon visits. Mr. Moretti's office was on the second floor, past the library, third door on the left. She'd never actually been inside. Lena climbed the curved staircase, her sneakers silent on the runner carpet. Voices echoed from somewhere below, staff preparing dinner, probably. A phone rang in a distant room. The hallway stretched before her, elegant and intimidating. She was being stupid. Mr. Moretti was a busy man. He had meetings, important business, real problems to deal with. He wouldn't want to hear about a little girl who thought she'd overheard something scary. But what if those men really were planning to hurt him? Lena's fist rose, hesitated, then knocked 3 times on the heavy wooden door. Silence. She knocked again. Enter. The voice was deep, calm, carrying the weight of someone used to being obeyed. Lena pushed the door open. Dante Moretti sat behind a massive desk, reviewing papers. He was younger than she'd imagined, maybe 40, with dark hair graying at the temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Lena?"
He set down his pen.
"Is your grandmother all right?" "She's fine." Lena's voice came out smaller than intended.
I
need to tell you something." Dante studied her for a moment, then gestured to a chair.
See.
She perched on the edge, clutching her notebook like a shield. "What's troubling you?" The kindness in his voice almost broke her resolve. This was insane. She was probably wrong about everything. "Those new guards," she began, then stopped. "The 2 men by the east gate." Dante's expression didn't change, but something sharpened in his gaze. "What about them?" "They're not your men." The words tumbled out in a rush. "They were talking about hurting you. Tomorrow at the docks. They said ambush. They said no survivors, they said." "Slow down." Dante's voice remained calm, but his hands had gone still on the desk. "How do you know what they said?" Lena bit her lip. "They were speaking Russian. My mama taught me before she died." Dante leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. He opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, and flipped through pages. His jaw tightened. What did these men look like? Lena described them. One with a scar above his eyebrow, the other with a gold watch that caught the sunlight. Dante's phone was in his hand before she finished.
Marco.
"The East Gate guards, the 2 new ones. I want their files on my desk in 60 seconds. He hung up. "Lena," he said quietly, you did the right thing coming to me. Are they bad men?" "I'm going to find out." He stood, walked to the window overlooking the estate. "None of my guards speak Russian. I personally approved every new hire this month." The door burst open. A man, Marco, presumably, rushed in with papers. Dante scanned them, his expression growing darker. "These men don't exist," he said softly. "Their names aren't on any roster. They're not in the system." Marco's face went pale. "Sir, I can explain." "Not now." Dante's voice could have cut glass. He turned to Lena. "You're going home with Romano. He'll stay with you and your grandmother tonight." "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Lena whispered. Dante crossed the room and crouched beside her chair, meeting her eyes. "You just saved my life, little one. That's not trouble. That's a miracle." He stood, already issuing orders into his phone, his entire demeanor shifting into something harder, more dangerous. Lena clutched her notebook and followed Romano out, her legs shaking. Behind them, Dante's voice echoed down the hallway. "Find those men.
Now."
The afternoon sun had turned golden, but Lena couldn't shake the chill that had settled into her bones. "Tomorrow at the docks," they'd said. She'd just changed someone's tomorrow. She hoped it was enough. Romano drove Lena and her grandmother home in silence, his eyes constantly checking the rear-view mirror. Lena pressed her forehead against the cold window, watching familiar streets blur past. "What happened?" Grandma whispered in the back seat, her arthritic fingers gripping Lena's hand. Nothing, Grandma. Mr. Moretti just wanted to make sure we got home safe. The lie tasted bitter. Romano walked them to their apartment door, checked inside every room, then positioned himself in the hallway. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Back at the estate, Dante stood in his office, surrounded by his most trusted men. The two fake guards had vanished the moment Marco went searching, slipped out through the service entrance, like smoke. How did they get through? Dante's voice was dangerously quiet. Marco spread security logs across the desk. Their credentials looked legitimate. Background checks came back clean. Someone with serious resources created these identities, boss. Dante studied the forged documents. The men's faces stared back from fake ID cards. Professional, unremarkable, perfect. Russians, he muttered. That child heard them speaking Russian. His second-in-command, Victor, stepped forward. Victor was old school, had worked with Dante's father. The Bratva's been quiet for months. Why move against us now? The weapons deal, Dante's jaw tightened. Tomorrow's meeting with Kozlov at the docks. Someone wants it to go very badly. He pulled up tomorrow's schedule on his computer. The meeting was set for noon, exactly when the fake guard had mentioned. Kozlov was supplying them with a shipment worth $3 million. Neutral territory. Minimal security, by agreement. A perfect place for an ambush. Pull the security footage from the past week, Dante ordered. Every camera. I want to know everywhere those men went, everyone they talked to, everything they touched. His team scattered to work. Dante poured himself whiskey, his mind racing. An 8-year-old girl had just uncovered what thousands of dollars in security systems had missed. A child who spoke Russian because her dead mother had wanted her to remember her roots. He thought of Lena's terrified face, how her hands shook while telling him about the guards, how she'd still found the courage to knock on his door. His phone buzzed.
Marco.
Worse, the footage showed one guard making a phone call from the garden, speaking into his cell with animated gestures. Can we pull the phone records? Dante asked. Already on it. But boss, Marco pointed at the timestamp. This call was made 30 minutes after the little girl saw them. Right after she walked away from them. Dante's stomach dropped. They knew she heard them, or suspected it. Today, yesterday, the whole week. Send it directly to me. While waiting, he opened his safe and removed a separate phone, the secure line he used only for the most sensitive communications. He dialed Kozlov's number. The weapon supplier answered in Russian-accented English. Moretti. Calling to confirm tomorrow. Calling to cancel. Silence. You don't cancel on me, Dante. We have agreement. Someone compromised the location. The meeting's off until I sort this out. Compromised? I tell no one. You tell no one. How is compromise? That's what I'm going to find out. Dante kept his voice still.
2 weeks.
New location. I'll contact you. He hung up before Kozlov could argue. Victor whistled low. He's not going to like that. He'll like a bullet in his head less. Dante pulled up blueprints of the dock warehouse. Send a team to sweep the location. I want every inch checked. If there are weapons planted, cameras hidden, anything, I want to know. His phone lit up with the traffic camera footage. Dante scrolled through, watching the docks over the past 72 hours. There. A black van, circling the warehouse 3 times Tuesday morning.
Too slow to be lost.
Too interested to be innocent. Marco, run this plate. On it. 20 minutes later, they had the answer. The van was registered to a shell company with ties to Russian interests. The same company that owned a warehouse across town, where the Bratva's local operations had been rumored to center. They were scouting, Dante said quietly. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned. Victor cracked his knuckles. We hit them first. Not yet. First, we confirm the docks are trapped. Then we find out who ordered this. Then Dante's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then we have a conversation about respect. He glanced at the clock. 8 p.m. Somewhere across the city, an 8-year-old girl was probably trying to sleep, not knowing she'd just unraveled a conspiracy weeks in the making. Dante pulled out his personal notebook and wrote her name at the top of a new page. Below it, protected, always. Boss. Marco stood at the door. The sweep team is ready to move on the docks. Dante stood, buttoning his jacket. Then, let's see what gifts our Russian friends left us. As they headed out, his phone buzzed with a text from Romano. All quiet here. The girl's asleep.
Good, Dante thought.
Let her sleep. Tomorrow, someone was going to learn what happened when you threatened children who lived under his protection. The old shipping docks smelled like rust and salt water. Dante's team arrived at 3 a.m, moving through shadows like ghosts. 6 men, all armed, all loyal. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, a massive structure of corrugated metal and broken windows, abandoned for years except when people like Dante needed privacy for business. Marco signaled from the entrance.
Clear.
They moved inside, flashlight beams cutting through darkness. The warehouse was cavernous, filled with old shipping containers and rotting wooden crates. Dante's meeting was supposed to happen in the cleared center space, neutral ground, good sight lines. Only 2 entrances. Now it looked like a trap waiting to spring. Spread out, Dante ordered quietly. Check everything. Rafters, containers, ventilation shafts. If something doesn't belong here, I want to know. His men dispersed. Dante walked the perimeter, studying angles. Anyone positioned in those rafters would have a perfect shot at the center floor. The containers could hide a dozen men. Even the rusted catwalks above offered sniper positions. Boss, Victor's voice crackled through the radio. North corner. You need to see this. Dante found him behind a stack of pallets, pointing his flashlight at the wall. Someone had drilled small holes through the metal siding, perfectly placed for camera lenses or gun barrels. Fresh drill marks, Victor said. Maybe 2 days old. Marco's voice came through the radio, tight with tension. Boss, we got movement. Northwest catwalk. Everyone froze. Dante killed his flashlight and pressed against a container. Hand signals sent his men into position. They moved with practiced silence, surrounding the catwalk's access ladder. A figure descended, boots scraping metal rungs. Now, Dante commanded. Flashlights blazed. The figure threw up his hands, squinting against the sudden light. It was one of the fake guards, the one with the gold watch. Don't move. Marco had his gun trained center mass. The man's hand twitched toward his jacket. Do it and die, Dante said calmly, stepping into the light. Hands behind your head.
Now.
The guard complied slowly, his face twisted with calculation. Victor patted him down, pulling out a pistol, a knife, and a cell phone. What else is up there? Dante nodded toward the rafters. Silence. Marco slammed the guard against the container. He asked you a question. Go see for yourself. Dante gestured. 2 men climbed to the catwalk and disappeared into the rafters. Minutes later, one radioed down. Boss, you're going to want to see this. They dragged the guard up with them. Dante climbed into the metal framework, his dress shoes inappropriate for the rusted beams, but his balance perfect. The rafters had been transformed into a sniper's nest. 2 rifles lay carefully positioned with clear views of the warehouse floor below. Boxes of ammunition, a tactical radio, binoculars, and something that made Dante's jaw clench, photographs of him, Kozlov, and every member of his usual security detail. You are going to kill everyone, Dante said softly. The guard spat. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Who sent you? Go to hell. Marco pressed his gun against the man's kneecap. Wrong answer. Wait, Dante held up his hand. He pulled out the guard's phone, scrolling through messages. Most were encrypted, but one recent text was clear. Devachka Eselisha S. The girl heard us. You reported back to someone, Dante said. After Lena saw you, you told them a little girl overheard your plans. The guard's eyes flickered. Confirmation enough. What were your orders regarding her? Silence. Marco cocked his gun. Eliminate the witness. The words burst out in Russian-accented panic. After the ambush. Make it look like accident.
She is just child, they said.
No one asks questions about dead child. Dante's vision went red. His hand shot out, gripping the guard's throat, slamming him back against the metal beam. You are going to kill an 8-year-old girl. Orders, the guard choked out. Bratva orders. From Volkov himself. Victor sucked in a breath. Alexei Volkov, the Bratva's regional commander, a man known for eliminating problems efficiently and brutally. Dante released the guard, who gasped for air. Why target me? We've had peace for 2 years. Not peace. Waiting, the guard coughed. The weapons deal with Kozlov. Bratva wants him.
You are. How you say?
In the way. Kill you, blame Kozlov, start war. While you fight each other, Bratva takes the territory. The plan was elegant in its brutality. Frame Kozlov for Dante's death, let the two families destroy each other, then the Bratva moves into the vacuum. And it had almost worked. How many men were assigned to this? Dante demanded. 6. Me and my partner at your estate. 2 here for the ambush. 2 watching the girls' school, waiting for orders. Dante's blood turned to ice. 2 men at her school? Now. Tomorrow. After you die. They eliminate the witness, make sure no one connects us. Dante was already moving, climbing down from the rafters. Marco, get this piece of trash secured. Victor, take 3 men and sweep this entire warehouse. I want every weapon, every camera, every trace of Bratva presence documented. Where are you going? Victor called. To make sure Lena lives to see tomorrow. He was dialing Romano as he ran for his car. The phone rang once.
Twice.
Boss. The Bratva knows about Lena. They're planning to eliminate her. I need. Sir, there's a car parked across the street. Been there for 20 minutes. Driver's just sitting, watching the building. Get them out. Back door.
Now.
I'm 10 minutes away. Dante's tires screamed as he pulled out of the dock area. Behind him, the trapped warehouse sat silent, a killing ground that would never claim its intended victims. But the real threat wasn't metal and bullets. It was men who thought killing a child was just another item on their checklist. Dante pressed the accelerator harder. Lena tried to focus on her math worksheet, but the numbers kept blurring. She'd barely slept, kept seeing those guards' faces every time she closed her eyes. Lena? Mrs. Patterson touched her shoulder gently. Are you feeling all right? Just tired, Mrs. Patterson. Her teacher studied her with concern. Mrs. Patterson had kind eyes and always noticed when something was wrong. Why don't you help me organize the art supplies? Give yourself a break from numbers. Lena nodded gratefully and followed her to the back of the classroom. Outside, 2 men in maintenance uniforms walked past the playground fence. One carried a toolbox, the other a clipboard. They looked official enough, gray coveralls, work boots, ID badges clipped to their pockets. But they weren't fixing anything. The man with the clipboard paused near the kindergarten entrance, eyes scanning each child that passed. Too focused. Too systematic. Mrs. Patterson happened to glance out the window while Lena sorted colored pencils. Something about those men pricked her instincts. She taught for 15 years, long enough to recognize when something felt off. Lena, stay here a moment. Mrs. Patterson walked to the classroom phone and dialed the front office.
Vet.
Are we expecting maintenance today? There are 2 workers near the east entrance. No scheduled work? Could you send security to check it out? The men's radio crackled. One of them touched his ear, an earpiece, and both suddenly turned toward the parking lot. They'd been listening to school security frequencies. The man with the toolbox said something sharp in a language Mrs. Patterson didn't recognize. They started walking faster, toward the student pickup area where afternoon dismissal was about to begin. School security, Mr. Chun, a retired police officer, approached them. Excuse me, gentlemen. Can I see your work order? The men exchanged glances. Work order, Mr. Chun repeated, hand resting casually near his hip where Lena knew he kept pepper spray. "We go get from truck," one man said in heavily accented English. They turned and walked briskly toward a white van parked on the street. Mr. Chen pulled out his phone, photographing their license plate as they climbed in. The van pulled away quickly, too quickly for workers who supposedly had legitimate business. Inside, Mrs. Patterson's phone buzzed. "Janet from the office." Those men left. Mr. Chen got their plate. Very strange. They had no work order, no explanation. "Should we call the police?" "Yes," Mrs. Patterson said immediately. Then quieter. "And call Romano, the man who's been watching Lena's grandmother's building." "How do you?" "Just do it, please." Romano answered on the first ring. When Mrs. Patterson explained about the men, his voice went hard. "Keep Lena inside. Lock classroom doors. I'm calling Dante now." 3 minutes later, Dante's car screeched into the school parking lot. Romano was right behind him. They found Mr. Chen at the security office, reviewing camera footage. "There," Mr. Chen pointed at the screen. They were scanning faces. "Look at the pattern, left to right, checking every child systematically." Dante's jaw clenched. They were looking for someone specific. "The little girl, you think? The one Romano's been protecting?" Dante didn't answer, already striding toward Mrs. Patterson's classroom. He knocked once before entering, and Lena's head snapped up from where she sat organizing crayons. Her face went pale. "Mr. Moretti?" "Lena, I need you to come with me." His voice was gentle despite the urgency. "Your grandmother, too. You're both going somewhere safe for a few days. But school is canceled for you right now." He crouched beside her desk. "Remember those men you told me about? Their friends came looking for you today." The crayon in Lena's hand clattered to the floor. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. "What's happening? Is Lena in danger?" "Not anymore," Dante said firmly. "But I need to move her."
Now.
Lena gathered her things with shaking hands. Her notebook, her pencil case, her jacket with the worn elbows. Everything felt surreal, like she was watching someone else's life. "Am I in trouble?" she whispered. "No, little one. You're the only one not in trouble." Dante placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did everything right. But the bad men don't like that you warned me, so we need to keep you somewhere they can't find you." Romano drove ahead to get Lena's grandmother while Dante took Lena directly from school. His car had bulletproof glass and reinforced doors, precautions that suddenly felt necessary. Lena pressed against the leather seat, watching familiar streets disappear. "Is Grandma okay?" "Romano's getting her right now. You'll see her soon." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere no one would think to look." Dante glanced in the rearview mirror, checking for tails. "A house in the mountains. Very private, very safe. My best men will be there." "For how long?" "Just until I solve this problem." The way he said solve made Lena shiver. They drove for an hour, leaving the city behind. Pine trees replaced buildings. The road narrowed, climbing into hills Lena had never seen before. Finally, they turned onto a hidden driveway. The cabin appeared between trees, rustic but solid, with wide windows and a wraparound porch. 3 men stood guard outside. They nodded respectfully as Dante's car pulled up. Romano arrived minutes later with Grandma, who immediately pulled Lena into her arms. "Moja deka," she murmured in Russian. "My baby." Dante gathered his guards. "No one comes up this road without clearance.
No exceptions.
Rotate shifts every 4 hours. If anything feels wrong, you call me immediately." "Yes, boss." Inside, the cabin was cozy. Fireplace, comfortable furniture, a kitchen stocked with supplies. It should have felt safe. But as darkness fell, Lena stood at the window, watching shadows move between trees. Somewhere out there, men were still looking for her. And she was the only witness to a crime that hadn't happened yet, a crime she'd stopped just by understanding the wrong language at the wrong time. Or maybe, she thought, the right language at exactly the right time. Lena couldn't sleep. The cabin's unfamiliar sounds kept her awake, whined through pine trees, the creak of old wood settling, footsteps of guards patrolling outside. Grandma snored softly in the bed beside hers, exhausted from the day's chaos. Lena envied her ability to sleep anywhere. The clock on the nightstand glowed, 2:47 a.m. She slipped out of bed and padded to the window, careful not to make noise. Outside, moonlight painted the forest silver. One guard stood near the porch, another by the driveway gate. She couldn't see the third. A shadow moved between trees. Lena pressed closer to the glass, squinting. Probably just a deer. The mountains were full of wildlife, one guard had told her earlier, trying to make her feel better about the isolation. The shadow moved again, too deliberate, too human. Her breath fogged the window. She wiped it clear with her sleeve. The guard by the porch pulled out his phone, checked something, then walked around the corner of the cabin. His flashlight beams swept through darkness. Minutes passed. He didn't come back. Lena's stomach tightened. Maybe he was checking the generator. Maybe there was a door back there. Maybe. Glass shattered downstairs. Grandma bolted upright. What was that? Before Lena could answer, footsteps pounded up the stairs. The remaining guard burst through their door, gun drawn. Get down. Now. He shoved them both behind the bed as gunfire erupted outside. Quick bursts, professional, not the wild shooting from movies. These were trained men killing other trained men. The guard spoke urgently into his radio. Safe house compromised. Repeat, compromised. We need. The window exploded inward. The guard spun, returning fire, his body shielding Lena and her grandmother. Bullets punched through wooden walls like paper. Then silence. The guard's radio crackled. Marco here. Status. They found us, the guard gasped. Blood spread across his shoulder. Petrov's down. I don't know about Dmitri. They came from the woods, at least 3 of them. Can you move the family? Not safely. They've got the driveway covered. More gunfire farther away this time, near the tree line. Dmitri's still fighting, the guard muttered. He pressed his hand against his wound, wincing. But we're sitting ducks here. Lena's mind raced. The cabin had one road in surrounded by forest. If bad men controlled the driveway, they were trapped. Is there another way out? She whispered. The guard looked at her, surprised she could speak. Just the driveway. No back trails? Nothing. This isn't exactly hiking country, kid. Grandma gripped Lena's hand, praying quietly in Russian. The guard's radio crackled again. Dante's 20 minutes out. Bringing reinforcements. Can you hold? We'll try. 20 minutes. Lena looked at the blood spreading across the guard's shirt. He wouldn't last that long. Outside, Dmitri's gunfire stopped abruptly. The guard's face went pale. They took him out. Silence pressed down like a weight. Somewhere in the darkness, men were regrouping, planning their next move. The guard dragged furniture toward the door, a dresser, a chair, anything to slow intruders down. Bathroom, he ordered. Interior room, no windows. Go. Grandma pulled Lena toward the small bathroom. They huddled in the tub, Grandma's arms wrapped tight around her. How did they find us? Lena whispered. Grandma's face was grim. Same way wolves find rabbits. They followed the scent. More footsteps outside, circling the cabin, testing defenses, looking for weaknesses. The guard positioned himself in the bedroom doorway, gun trained on the stairs. Blood dripped from his shoulder, pattering softly on the wooden floor. Lena's phone buzzed in her pajama pocket. She'd forgotten she had it. A text from an unknown number. Stay quiet. Help coming. Then the lights went out. The entire cabin plunged into darkness. Someone had cut the power. Don't move, the guard hissed. Don't make a sound. Lena held her breath. Grandma's heart hammered against her back. Footsteps on the porch. Slow. Confident. The creak of the front door opening. They'd picked the lock. 2 sets of footsteps inside now. Moving through the ground floor. Opening doors. Searching. One spoke in Russian. Upstairs. They're hiding upstairs. The stairs groaned under weight. The guard fired twice. Someone cursed in pain. Return fire lit up the darkness, muzzle flashes like deadly fireflies. The guard stumbled backward into the bedroom, still shooting. "Stay down," he yelled. Then his gun clicked empty. Lena heard him fumble for another magazine, heard heavy boots rushing up the final stairs, heard Grandma's whispered prayer reach a crescendo. Car engines roared outside. Tires on gravel. Doors slamming. Dante's voice cutting through the chaos. "Federal backup. Stand down." The footsteps on the stairs hesitated. "You're surrounded," Dante's voice echoed through the darkness. "Drop your weapons and come out. This is your only chance." A moment of terrible silence. Then gunfire erupted again, but this time from outside, Dante's reinforcements overwhelming the attackers' positions. It lasted 30 seconds. Maybe less. When silence finally came, it felt fragile. "Clear," someone shouted. Lights flickered back on, a generator kicking in. Dante appeared in the bedroom doorway, gun drawn, fury written across his face. His eyes found Lena huddled in the bathtub, and something in his expression shifted. "You're safe now," he said quietly. But Lena saw the bodies being dragged from the cabin, saw the blood pooling in the hallway, saw the wounded guard being treated by medics who'd arrived with Dante's convoy. Safe felt like a word that didn't mean anything anymore. "How did they find us?" the guard asked Dante, his voice weak. Dante held up a phone. Petrov's phone, recovered from his body. GPS tracker, hidden in the SIM card. "They followed him here." The guard's face crumpled. "I checked everyone."
Isso era checked.
"They're professionals," Dante's voice was ice. "But so am I. And now I know exactly where they've been staying." He crouched beside the bathtub. "We're moving you again. Somewhere they'll never find. I promise." Lena nodded, too numb to speak. 20 minutes ago, she'd been a little girl trying to sleep. Now she was a target worth killing. The underground bunker beneath Dante's family vineyard smelled like earth and old wine. Stone walls, reinforced doors, air filtration systems, built during the Cold War by Dante's grandfather, updated with modern security. Lena sat on a cot, wrapped in blankets, while Grandma made tea in the small kitchenette. No windows down here. No way for anyone to see in or track them. "Sleep if you can," Dante said gently. "You're safe now. I guarantee it." "You promised that before," Lena whispered. The words hit harder than any accusation. Dante's jaw tightened. "You're right. I underestimated them. That won't happen again." He climbed the stairs back to the vineyard's main house, where his entire operation had assembled. Maps covered the dining table. Laptop screens glowed with surveillance footage. 20 men, all armed, all waiting for orders. Marco stood at the table's head, organizing intelligence. "Boss, we pulled data from the tracker they planted. It shows 3 locations they've been frequenting." He pointed to the map. Red circles marked 3 spots across the city. "Here, an abandoned motel on the east side. They've been there every night this week. Here, the warehouse district, 2 blocks from the docks. And here, a house in the suburbs registered to a shell company we traced back to Bratvar interests." Dante studied the locations. "How many men are we looking at?" "Best estimate? 8 to 12. The 2 fake guards, the team from the cabin, plus support. And Volkov. No confirmation he's in the city. But his lieutenant, Sergei Kozin, has been spotted at the suburban house." Dante's smile was predatory. "Then, that's where we start." Victor stepped forward. "Simultaneous raids? Hit all 3 at once."
Exactly.
They've been hunting Lena across the city. Now we show them what it feels like to be prey. The teams assembled quickly. 8 men for each location, coordinated timing, clear objectives. Capture anyone alive if possible, secure evidence, and eliminate the threat permanently. "Rules of engagement?" one lieutenant asked. "They try to kill a child," Dante said flatly. "There are no rules." At 6:47 a.m., 3 teams moved into position. Team 1 surrounded the motel, a decrepit building with peeling paint and broken neon signs. For Bratva men were sleeping in rooms 12 and 13, confident no one had tracked them. They were wrong. Marco kicked in the first door. Don't move. One man reached for a gun under his pillow. He didn't make it. The second man raised his hands immediately, shouting in Russian. Team 2 hit the warehouse simultaneously. This location was more fortified, steel doors, security cameras. But Dante's men had cut the power 30 seconds before entry. They found 2 men destroying documents, trying to burn evidence in metal drums. Victor's team subdued them before they could finish, dragging them out while the warehouse was photographed, catalogued, documented. Inside, they found the weapons that were supposed to kill Dante, rifles with suppressors, explosives, tactical gear, and a planning board with photographs. Dante, Kozlov, Lena's school, the mountain cabin. Victor took pictures of everything with his phone, sending them directly to Dante. Team 3 had the hardest target, the suburban house. Residential neighborhood, families nearby, risk of civilian involvement. Dante led this one personally. They approached at dawn, moving through backyards with practiced silence. The house looked normal, 2 stories, neat lawn, minivan in the driveway. Perfect cover. Dante's thermal scope showed 4 heat signatures inside. 2 upstairs, 2 down. On my mark, he whispered into his radio. They breached both doors simultaneously, front and back. The men inside were caught mid-breakfast, coffee cups still steaming on the table. Sergei Kozin reached for his weapon. Dante shot it out of his hand. Move again, and the next one's between your eyes. The other men surrendered immediately, recognizing the difference between soldiers and amateurs. Dante's men zip-tied their hands while he searched the house. What he found made his blood boil. A laptop opened to surveillance photos of Lena's school, class schedules, teacher rotations, security patterns. A file folder containing her student records, somehow obtained from the school's database. A burner phone with recent calls to Moscow. And worst of all, a handwritten note in Russian. Deva 8 let. Исключить свидетеля, the girl. 8 years old. Eliminate the witness. Dante grabbed Sergei by the collar, slamming him against the wall. You were planning to murder a child. Sergei spat blood. Orders. Just following orders. From Volkov. Silence. Dante pressed his gun against Sergei's kneecap. I'm not known for my patience.
Yes.
Volkov ordered it. The girl heard the plan. She ruined everything. We were supposed to kill you, frame Kozlov, start a war. But that little brat. Dante struck him across the face. Careful. Sergei laughed bitterly. You think this ends with us? Volkov has already sent a replacement team. Even if you kill us all, they'll keep coming. The girl is marked. Then I'll unmark her. Dante pulled out his phone, dialing a number he'd hoped never to use. It rang 4 times before a gruff voice answered in Russian.
Volkov.
This is Dante Moretti. We need to talk about your failed operation. A pause. Then laughter. The Italian who doesn't die. Impressive. My men underestimated you. Your men tried to kill an 8-year-old girl. Witnesses are liabilities. Children are off limits. That's the rule. Always has been. Rules change. Not this one. Dante's voice dropped to Arctic cold. I have 8 of your men in custody. I have evidence of your planning. I have recordings, photographs, everything. And I'm willing to make this very public. Send it to every family, every organization you do business with. Let them see that Alexei Volkov murders children. Silence stretched. When Volkov spoke again, calculation had replaced amusement. What do you want? Call off your dogs. All of them. The girl is under my protection now. Anyone who touches her answers to me, and through me, to everyone else will learn what you tried to do. And in exchange, your men go home. This ends quietly. No war, no publicity, no shame. Another pause.
Done.
But Moretti, cross me again, and child or no child, I'll burn everything you love. The line went dead. Dante turned to his men. Pack up everything. Evidence, prisoners, all of it. We're done here. As dawn broke over the city, 3 simultaneous raids had dismantled an entire Bratva operation. And deep beneath a vineyard, a little girl slept, finally safe. Dante didn't trust Volkov's word. Men like that spoke in convenient lies and broken promises. Which is why he had Marco monitoring every communication channel, every border crossing, every possible exit from the city. At 9:15 p.m., Marco's call came through. Boss, we got movement. For vehicles heading north toward the Old North Bridge. Thermal shows 8 passengers total, matches the count of Bratva men still unaccounted for. Dante was already grabbing his jacket. They're running. Looks like it. Volkov must have ordered them out after your call. Or he's regrouping for another attack. Dante checked his weapon. Either way, they don't leave this city. Not alive. Victor assembled the team within minutes. 6 cars, 20 men, all converging on the North Bridge, a rusted metal structure spanning the industrial river, rarely used except by trucks avoiding highway tolls. Perfect place for an ambush. Dante's convoy reached the bridge first, parking across both lanes to create a roadblock. His men took positions behind vehicles, weapons ready. They'll see us from a mile away, Victor noted.
Good.
I want them to see. Dante's voice was cold. I want them to know they're not getting out. The weight felt eternal. Wind howled across the empty bridge, making metal groan. Below, dark water churned past concrete pillars. Then headlights appeared in the distance. 4 black SUVs, driving fast. When they spotted the roadblock, brake lights flared. The vehicles slowed but didn't stop. They were calculating, deciding whether to ram through or turn back. Dante raised a megaphone. This is your only warning. Stop the vehicles and step out. Hands visible. The lead SUV's window rolled down. Someone shouted back in Russian. Let us pass, Moretti. Volkov gave his word. We're leaving. You should have left before you hunted a child. We followed orders. So did the men at Nuremberg. Dante's finger rested on his weapon's trigger. Last chance. Surrender or die here. For a moment, nothing moved. The wind carried the smell of river water and rust. Then the lead SUV's engine roared. They were going to ram the blockade. Light them up, Dante ordered. Gunfire erupted from both sides of the bridge. Dante's men targeted tires first, controlled shots that shredded rubber and sent vehicles slewing sideways. The lead SUV crashed into the bridge railing, metal screaming. The Bratva men bailed out, returning fire. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Suppress and advance.
Victor shouted.
Dante's team moved forward in coordinated pairs, using vehicles as cover. Professional, disciplined, this was what 20 years in the business looked like. The Bratva men fought desperately but were outgunned and outpositioned. Within 3 minutes, 5 were down. The remaining 3 retreated to the far side of the bridge, trapped between Dante's men and the bridge's end. One threw down his weapon. I surrender. Another followed suit. The third, a man Dante recognized from surveillance photos as Volkov's personal enforcer, kept his gun raised.
Vedi anyway.
Volkov doesn't forgive failure. Then choose who kills you, Dante called out. Him or me. The enforcer's gun wavered. He looked at his surrendered comrades, at the bodies littering the bridge, at the dark water below.
He lowered his weapon.
Dante's men secured all 3 survivors, zip-tying hands and checking for hidden weapons. Victor's team swept the SUVs, pulling out bags of cash, forged documents, and weapons. Dante approached the enforcer, a scarred man with dead eyes who'd probably killed more people than he could count. What's your name? Maxim. Maxim, I'm going to ask you one question. Answer honestly and you live. Lie, and you join your friends in the river. Maxim nodded slowly. The girl. Was this operation truly over? Or was Volkov planning something else? Maxim's jaw tightened. He told us to leave. Forget the contract. The girl was.
How do you say?
More trouble than worth. But But Volkov never forgets insults. He said maybe 6 months, maybe a year. When you forget to watch, when the girl grows comfortable, Maxim shrugged. Then accidents happen. Dante felt rage boil in his chest. He was going to wait me out. This is Volkov's way. Patient. Vengeful. Victor stepped close. Boss, we can't let them walk knowing that. I know. Dante pulled out his phone, dialing that Moscow number again. Volkov answered with amusement. Moretti. My men report they're delayed at a bridge. Traffic problem, I assume? Your men are in my custody. All of them. And your enforcer just told me about your long-term plans for the girl. The amusement died. Maxim talks too much. Here's how this works now. Dante's voice could cut steel. I'm sending you evidence of everything, the school surveillance, the hit plans, the orders to kill a child. Every organization you work with gets a copy. Every family in our world sees what you tried to do. You threaten me? I'm offering you a choice. Pull back completely, permanently, and this stays between us. But if anything happens to that girl, ever, even years from now, even something that looks like an accident, all of this goes public. Your reputation burns. Your business partners abandon you. You become the man who breaks our oldest rule. Silence stretched across the phone line. You're willing to go to war over one child. I'm willing to end you over one child. Yes. More silence. Then, fine. The girl lives. My word, on my father's grave. Your word means nothing. I want insurance. Dante gestured to Marco, who held up a laptop showing bank transfers being prepared. $10 million. Transferred to an escrow account. If anything happens to Lena or her family, that money goes to every organization proving you ordered a hit on a child. Volkov's breath hissed through the phone. You ask too much. I'm asking for a little girl's life. That shouldn't cost you anything if you mean what you say. A long pause.
Done.
Transfer details? Marco provided them. Within 5 minutes, $10 million moved through encrypted channels into an account controlled by 3 neutral parties, insurance brokers of the underworld. It's done, Volkov said flatly. The girl lives. We're finished here. Yes, Dante agreed. We are. He hung up and turned to the captured Bratva men. You're going home. Tell Volkov that Lena Petrov is off limits. Forever. As they were loaded into vehicles for deportation processing, Dante stood on the bridge, watching the river flow beneath. Victor joined him. Think Volkov will honor it. $10 million says he will. And if he doesn't, Dante smiled coldly. He'll lose everything he's built. The bridge fell silent except for wind and water. Somewhere in the city, a little girl slept safely. And she'd never know how many men had died tonight to ensure she'd wake up tomorrow. Morning sunlight filtered through Lena's bedroom curtains, her real bedroom, in her real apartment, not a bunker or a cabin or a safe house. 4 days. That's how long she'd been gone. It felt like 4 years. Grandma hummed in the kitchen, making breakfast like nothing had happened. But Lena noticed the way her hands shook slightly when she cracked eggs, the way she glanced at the door every few minutes. A knock made them both freeze. It's Romano, a familiar voice called. And Mr. Moretti. Grandma opened the door. Romano stood there in his usual stance, alert, professional. Behind him, Dante looked tired but calm, holding a paper bag that smelled like fresh pastries. May I come in? Dante asked. Grandma stepped aside. Lena sat at the kitchen table, her notebook open but empty. She hadn't been able to draw since the cabin. Dante set the pastries down and took a seat across from her. How are you feeling?
Okay, Lena Lied.
It's all right not to be okay, his voice was gentle. You've been through something no child should experience. Are the bad men gone?
Yes.
All of them. And the man who sent them, Dante chose his words carefully, has made certain promises. You're safe now. Truly safe. You said that before. The same words she'd used in the bunker. They still carried the same weight. Dante nodded slowly. You're right to doubt me. I failed to protect you properly the first time. But things are different now. I've made arrangements, permanent arrangements, that ensure no one will ever target you again. What kind of arrangements? The complicated kind that adults handle, he smiled slightly. The kind that involves a lot of money, and even more threats. Grandma poured coffee, listening silently. I also want to handle some other things, Dante continued. Your school has been paid through graduation, all of it, including university if you choose to go. I've set up a trust fund for you and your grandmother. And I've arranged for someone to talk to you about everything that happened. A professional, someone who helps children process difficult experiences. A therapist? Lena had heard the word at school when Emma Rodriguez's parents got divorced.
Yes.
Someone who can help you feel safe again. Lena traced patterns on her blank notebook page. Why are you doing all this? Dante leaned back, considering his answer. Do you know what you did when you heard those men speaking Russian? Told you. You saved my life. And probably the lives of 5 other men who would have been at that meeting, he paused. But more than that, you chose to do something brave when staying silent would have been easier and safer. That kind of courage is rare, Lena, even in adults. I was scared. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the right thing even when you're terrified. Grandma set coffee in front of Dante, then squeezed Lena's shoulder. Your mother would be proud, she said softly in Russian. Tears pricked Lena's eyes. Mama had taught her Russian, so she'd remember her heritage, never imagining those lessons would save lives. I can't draw anymore, Lena whispered. I keep seeing things. The therapist will help with that, Dante said. And there's no rush.
Take your time.
Heal properly. He stood, preparing to leave, but Lena stopped him. Mr. Moretti? Will you really make sure nothing happens to us? I promise. And this time, I have insurance. He pulled out a business card, writing a number on the back. This is my personal phone. Anytime, day or night, if you feel unsafe or worried, you call me. I'll answer. Always. Lena took the card, holding it like a talisman. After Dante left, Grandma opened the pastry bag, chocolate croissants, Lena's favorite. They ate in companionable silence. He's a dangerous man, Grandma said eventually. But I think also a man of his word. Do you think Mama would be mad I helped him? Your mama would understand that good and bad aren't always simple. That man saved our lives. And you saved his. Grandma smiled. Sometimes the world is complicated, Decca. That afternoon, Lena tried to draw. Her hand shook at first, but slowly, carefully, she sketched a small figure, a man in a dark suit, standing between her and shadows she couldn't quite see. She made him smiling, though she'd rarely seen Dante smile. Made him protective, which felt true. Made him important because somehow he'd become that. 3 days later, Romana was replaced by 2 new guards who dressed like normal neighbors but watched everything. They were there when Lena walked to school. There when she came home. There at night when she couldn't sleep and looked out her window. The therapist, Dr. Chun, a kind woman with gentle questions, helped her talk about the fear, about the gunfire, about feeling hunted. You're not prey, Dr. Chun said during their 3rd session. You're a survivor. There's a difference. Slowly, Lena started to feel like herself again. Started drawing flowers and birds instead of shadows. Started sleeping through the night. 2 months later, Dante visited again. Lena had drawn something special for him, a portrait of a man standing guard over a small girl who was busy drawing. Is this me? Dante asked, studying the careful lines. You said you'd protect me. I wanted to show I believe you. Something shifted in Dante's expression, surprise, maybe emotion. He carefully rolled up the drawing. May I keep this? Lena nodded. Thank you, little one. For everything. As he left, Lena returned to her notebook. The world was dangerous, she'd learned that. But it also had people who kept their promises. She sketched her grandmother in the kitchen. Drew Romano standing watch outside. Added flowers to the windowsill because they made everything prettier. And in the corner, barely visible, she drew a dark-suited figure walking away, someone who'd change her life by letting her change his. Outside, The two guards maintained their positions. They'd be there tomorrow, and the day after, and every day following, because Dante Moretti kept his promises. And Lena Petrov could finally just be 8 years old again.